we read about Hagar is weeping. And then in the Haftarah, Hannah was crying. Tomorrow morning, we're going to read about Sarah weeping. And then in the Haftarah, Rachel is going to cry. The blast of Shabar, according to the Talmud, reminds us of the weeping of the mother of Sisera, who was a general trying to destroy the Jewish people. So in many ways, Rosh Hashanah is a holiday of weeping women. Think about this. Every single reading in the next 2 days is all about women crying. And this year, since last Rosh Hashanah, we have heard a lot of women's voices. The pain that they covered deep down, and we're afraid to share. It is good that victims finally are speaking out. It is good that they finally have a voice. And this epidemic is not just affecting Hollywood. It's literally spread all over the society. A wide-ranging wave of accusations came out against some of the most powerful people in men, particularly entertainment, politics, media, judges, high-tech, fashion industry, finance, sports, and yes, religion. Giants of their industries, gifted, talented, famous artists, respected role models. Think about some of the names. Bill Cosby, Tom Brokaw, and even one of the most beloved actors of all times, perhaps, Morgan Freeman, who interestingly portrayed God in several movies. Remember that? James Levine, the towering figure in classical music, legendary director of the Metropolitan Opera, was fired this last year for sexual abuse after a 46-year career with the Met. And this brings me to the most painful part of all of this, to me as a Jew. Have you noticed how many of these names are Jewish names? Weinstein, Levine, Lauer, Stein, Horowitz, Friedman, Landesman, Wieseltier, it goes on and on and on. Now, we're all very proud of how many Jews are Nobel Prize winners. We always share that list with each other. I get a lot of those emails. Rabbi, see what's going on. Look at our list. But what about this list? Should we not be ashamed of this list? I remember, and I suspect most of you remember, there were days when we used to say, this is a Schande von de Goyim. Es passt nicht. It's not right. It's not proper. We used to be ashamed when we saw a Jewish name in a newspaper connected with some crime. There was a time when we used to say, Jews don't. Remember those days? Jews do not eat ham or bacon. Jews don't beat up their wives. Jews don't cremate their parents. Jews don't molest children. Jews are not murderers. Is it true today? Is any of this true? You may not even remember, but 2.5 weeks ago there was a mass shooting in Jacksonville. Do you know who the name of the murderer? David Katz. I was sickened when I heard his name on the news. You know what Katz means? Katz is the short for Cohen Tzedek, the righteous Cohen. His grandpa probably was honored in shul with the first aliyah. And the grandson is killing people because he lost a video game. We should be all alarmed and ashamed. I was not in this country, but many of you remember when Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were accused of treason and convicted. Jews all over America were frightened, but also ashamed, horrified. When Jonathan Pollard was convicted, we had the same reaction of repulsion and shame. And what about today? Today we have Elliot Spitzer, Anthony Weiner, Al Franken, Bernie Madoff, and now, of course, Michael Cohen, another Cohen, and a son of Holocaust survivors. And the worst thing about all of this is that we're not shocked anymore. We got used to it. And sadly, we're not ashamed. What has happened to us? What's going on? Something has gone wrong with American Jewish life. We have become like everybody else. It was never like this before. I'm sure there are probably several reasons for this tragedy. I would like to focus on the most obvious one. Your generation and your parents' generation were working very hard to become full-fledged Americans. You desperately wanted to be accepted in exclusive country clubs and prestigious organizations. Most American Jews were vehemently, passionately against Jewish day schools until all the way into the 1970s. I remember one of my first sermons at Temple Emmanuel when I came to Palm Beach. I gave about the importance of Jewish education and send your children to Jewish day schools if you want them to stay Jewish. A woman came over to me. This is one of the first sermons. A woman came over to me, angry with me. She says, "Rabbi, this is not a ghetto. We live in America. You should not encourage our people to send their children to Jewish schools. It's important to us that our children get to know all kinds of people." Yes, we work very hard to prove to the Gentiles that we're not different, that we're just like them. And many of us, including me, when people would find out my name, Feldman, the reaction was usually, "Oh, you're Jewish. Funny, you don't look like one." And I felt, wow, what a beautiful compliment. I made it. I made it. They will accept me. I'm just like them. And guess what? We have succeeded. We did it. We are just like them. We got what we wanted. This is a painful reality. We should all be heartbroken. We have forgotten that we belong to the chosen people. Avinu Shebashamayim, our Father in heaven, shows us to be different from everybody else. That line repeats again and again over the Torah. You should not be like everybody else. You work for me. You become a holy nation. Am Kadosh. Are we a holy nation? What do you think? We accepted a mission to become a light unto the nations. We gave the world the 10 Commandments. You and I are related to Abraham, to Moses, to King David, to Queen Esther. This is our mishpucha. And you want to be like them? For thousands of years, these were our heroes. They were our role models. And today, who are the heroes of our children and grandchildren? Think about this. Who are their role models? Rap music stars? Have you ever tried to understand, to listen to the words of those songs? I don't recommend it. Or maybe athletes making millions of dollars who refuse to stand up for the American national anthem. Those are the role models. Or Jewish students all over the country standing there with the Palestinian flags and shouting, Israel is an apartheid state. Yes, we have become like everybody else. And you know what? It makes sense. Why should we be different? What makes us different? Do we have different genes, DNA? What makes us different is one thing: Judaism. If Judaism does not shape the way we live, then guess what? Hollywood, Facebook, Google, iPhone, they will shape our lives. We have abandoned Jewish values and principles. We have become, every survey shows, we have become the most secular group of people in America. We do not live Jewish lives anymore. Ask yourselves, be honest, what is Jewish in your day-to-day lives? How is your life different from your neighbors and acquaintances? I know this is not an easy sermon to listen to hear. But today is Yom Adin. I kept saying last night, listen to the title for this day. It's Yom Teruah and Yom Adin, the day of judgment. We must hear the piercing sound of the shofar as a wake-up call before we stand in court being judged by the Master of the universe. It is my job, it is my responsibility to sound an emergency alarm. We must save the sinking ship. It is very late, but it is not too late. However, we must begin the work today. And I'm going to offer you a couple of suggestions. And I hope if you agree with me, if you are honest, and you look around, and you look at your lives, and your children's, and your grandchildren's lives, I hope you will take these 4 simple ideas seriously. Try it. I'm asking you to do this only for the next 10 days, until you don't move. See how it feels. In the beginning, it may feel uncomfortable. Don't give up. Make a commitment today that you will not give up, that you will continue this at least for the next 10 days. I'm going to help you, at least to suggest, to inject some basic Jewish practices into your lives. Just for 10 days. Are you ready? Are you willing to take that chance? Okay, let's do it. And I promise, by the way, it's not going to be painful. I'm not going to ask you to give up shrimp, or become a Shomer Shabbos Sunday, or drop golf on Shabbos, or whatever it is. But I believe that these 4 suggestions, and I could have come with 10, but I said, you know what, I don't want to go too much. I believe that it can actually affect your lives and the future of the Jewish people in America. Suggestion number 1, and I know that some of you do it. We have several congregants who told me that they do every Friday before Shabbat. They get on Skype or whatever it's called, FaceTime, and they talk to their children wherever they are, including in Israel. We have some people who do just a phone call, but this is what I want to do. We have a beautiful Friday night ritual that most Jews forgot about. We're supposed to, before we sit down for dinner, after Kiddush, we're supposed to come to our children, put our hands on their head, and bless them. Every Friday night. Now, many of you do it on Pesach night, on Seder, but it's supposed to be every Friday night. And the fact is that, let's be realistic, because we chose to be in Florida, many of our children and grandchildren are not near us. They're all over the country. God bless them. They're successful. They're pursuing their interests and careers and so on. So this is what I want to recommend. Every Friday afternoon before Shabbat, I want you to send a text message to all of your children and grandchildren. It takes usually 3 seconds. Just say, Shabbat is coming, I'm thinking about you, and I love you. That's it. How difficult is that? 3 seconds. Text message. You don't even have to pick up the phone. But I promise you, it may affect your relationship with your children and grandchildren. They will remember this. They will have a connection. Suddenly, you affect them Friday night before they go dancing or whatever they go, the bars or whatever. This is a simple ritual that literally can transform the relationship in ways that you cannot imagine. Because I hear from many of you what your grandparents did to you, how they influenced you. That's number one. Friday afternoon, this Friday, stop for 2 seconds, send a text message to your children and grandchildren. Number two, this one should take 1 second, not 3 seconds. Every time you walk into your house or leave your house, I will ask you to touch the mezuzah and kiss it. That little box has a piece of Torah with the most important line of the Jewish people, Shema Israel. That's the phrase we're supposed to say, the last words to come out of our mouth before we leave this world. That little box represents the values which we're supposed to live by. And as you leave the house and touch the mezuzah, remember the original command to Abraham. God says to Abraham, Yibracha, blessing. So this may affect your day. As you go around doing whatever you're doing, this may actually remind you, wow, I'm Jewish. I have to affect somehow everybody that I meet. That's the mission. Before you enter your house, I want you to pause for a second. Touch the Torah, touch the Shema, and realize maybe I should leave all my tzuras, all my frustrations behind. The office will wait. I am walking into a safe place. This is the people, this is my family. They love me, and I love them. You may notice that your mood will change for the rest of the evening. That's it. 1 second. How difficult is that? Do this today when you come home. Touch the mezuzah. So far, text message for 3 seconds and touch mezuzah 1 second. So far, 4 seconds of your lives. Number 3. Another 3 seconds. Every time you sit down to eat, and if there is bread on the table, whether it's gentle sitting with you or Jewish people, take that piece of bread and say, hey guys, let's say Hamotzi together. Everybody knows Hamotzi, every child knows Hamotzi. But I promise you, those 10 simple words may affect the level of conversation around the tables. Maybe there will be a little bit less gossip. Talking about gossip, by the way, I was thinking, a lot of times you walk into a synagogue or any office and it says, this is smoke-free place. I'd like us to put a big post over there. This is gossip-free temple. How would you like that? This is going to really affect our lives, huh? If we make a commitment to that. So we pause for a minute with a piece of bread and we say thank you to the Creator of the world. And those 10 words will connect you to the numerous generations of Jews who said the same blessing for millennia. It is expression of belonging to a nation that is supposed to teach the rest of the world morality and values. So try that. Try that. For some of you it's natural. Some of you do it only on Shabbos, perhaps, on Yom Tov. But try this anytime there is bread on the table. Just lift it and say, hey guys, Hamotzi. I suspect that gentle people will actually like it. Nobody will protest. Nobody will say, oh, come on. I promise you. Try it. And you will see, it will open a different conversation. People will ask you, you know what, blame me. Say, hey, my rabbi came up with this crazy idea. I think that this is going to really affect you. 3 times a day we sit down to eat. And we say, hi, I'm not an animal. I don't just put my face into that bowl. I pause for a minute. I realize I'm a human being. I'm supposed to elevate my life to another level. So that's another 3 seconds. How many do we have so far? 7 seconds? 1 more. 2 seconds of your time. Every night before you go to sleep, I would suggest you say Shema Yisrael. That's it. There is a special Shema before we go to bed, and I know some of you know it by heart, but just say Shema Yisrael before you go to sleep. I suspect if you do this for a few nights, you may actually have a better night of sleep. You may actually leave all that source, all the tensions behind us. You know, you're basically saying, as I close my eyes, I am letting go of control over my life. I trust God, who's in charge of everything. And you will see, this too can affect your life. So here we are. Text message. Mezuzah. Hamotzi and Shema before you go to sleep. Is this a lot? What are we talking about? 7 seconds? 9 seconds? That's all I'm asking. But you have to make a commitment. For the next 10 days, stick to it. Be consistent. Don't drop it. Now, if you forget suddenly one day or one time you walk into the house, that's okay. Don't drop it. That does not mean you failed. Next time, you do this. You try. I don't think this is too much to ask. But if you agree that something is wrong with our Jewishness, with our Jewish life in America, this is a simple tool I'm giving you. I'm not asking you to transform your lives dramatically. I'm not telling you to come to Minyan. I want to see everybody at the Minyan, which I would like to, of course. But I'm not going to do this. I'm not naive. These are not simple rituals. Rituals are important. They shape who we are. So, try doing these 4 rituals for the next days. And I'd like to hear on Yom Kippur, we'll pause, and I would like to hear from some of you, those of you who feel comfortable, how you did, and what did it do in these 10 days. Keep practicing. I promise you one thing. After several times, it becomes a habit. I don't have to think about mezuzah. I immediately go. I enter the house, I look for the mezuzah. And I think you will become comfortable with this. And the text message that I was talking to you about, I know several of our congregants told me that this really changed their relationship with grandchildren. There is one particular congregant, I don't want to mention anybody, who had a tough relationship with a grandson who lives far away, somewhere in Seattle, and suddenly that grandchild began to reach out, and there was a closeness there that was not before. So I promise you, my friends, these 4 spiritual practices will change your lives in the ways that you cannot imagine. Good luck to all of us. Shana Tova.